Jeez, man. All these mergers and combinations and power moves that's going on out here. I might as well make my little bit of change. Okay, the monetization is back on my videos. I mean, someone's got to pay for this brand new camera that I have, and brand new microphone that I have, and brand new speaker. Ooh, how do I sound? Tell me. Testing, one, two. Anyway, this is the gospel according to Mark with a C. He is I, and I am he. Just taking some time to tell you exactly what's on my mind. Thank you for joining me once again, my friends. I hope all is well with you guys. Don't forget to hit the like, to share, and to subscribe. Listen, guys, I want to make a public service announcement here. I want to talk about something that is very important. It's near and dear to my heart, guys. You've heard me talk about issues with certain jabs and things like that. And listen, this is not misinformation. This is me reporting what's going on because believe it or not, I care about you. This one, it concerns everyone, but especially Black women. Black women, yes, I care about you. And I want to talk about something that I just saw online earlier. What was it, like yesterday or something like that? And this is very important, guys. I want you to pay attention to this story right here. If you are a Black woman, if you know a Black woman, and women in general should know about this. This is affecting Black women more, but I think that all women, and the gospel loves the ladies. I think you all need to pay attention to this because you don't see a lot of people talking about this. So let's check this out, okay? Follow me now. All right, we have here a warning, and it says, thousands of women are suing Pfizer over their popular birth control shot, Depo-Provera, which is linked to brain tumors. Now, the EU added a warning in 2024. Canada has warned since 2006. But for some reason, the US has no such warning. It says here that Pfizer kills people. Now, that would be medical information. I'm just reading what it says here. I don't know. I'm just making you aware of what's going on. Now, I want you to hear this story, guys, and we're going to expand on this a little bit. All right, let's check this out.
The risk of developing the tumor. Philip is now
Bring it back.
Robin Phillip has been through 2 surgeries and months of radiation, all due to a tumor she now believes was caused by her birth control injections.
If I would have knew from the get-go, I would have never took that shot.
Depo-Provera is a progestin shot.
Okay. She says if she would have known, well, she said if I would have knew, but she says if I would have known from the get-go, from the beginning, I would not have taken the shot. And this is the reason why I would push back on people who have in the past called me anti-jab or anti-vaccine or something like that. It's really not a matter of that. What I am is pro-education, pro-information. I feel the same way with abortion. I feel like a woman has the right to do what she wants to do with her body, but she has to be informed. She has to be educated about what's being done to her body. She has to be educated about how she might feel emotionally about what she has done to her body. People don't report on that a lot. You know, what women have to go through as far as the emotional toll that it takes when you have an abortion and things like that. Anytime you do a medical procedure, I don't care if it's reassignment surgery, people don't talk about what happens afterwards and how sometimes you can have a little bit of buyer's remorse, for lack of a better term. Let's move on.
Every 3 months, 1 in 4 women in the United States use it, with Black women taking the shot at nearly double the national rate.
Black women take the shot at nearly double the national rate. When you think about what the actual percentage of Black women are in the country, when you think about them taking a birth control shot at nearly double the national rate, it kind of blows your mind. Like, where are we, guys? We like to say that Black lives matter, bro, but does that include Black unborn lives, I guess? It seems not, because you're taking this shot at nearly double the national average, which puts Black women at a greater rate of having a bad reaction to this is what we're talking about now.
And deliberately not study the long-term safety of Depo.
These women all have meningiomas.
Pfizer, the maker of Depo-Provera, alleging the company chose to ignore relevant safety concerns and
let's bring it back.
deliberately not study the link between Depo and meningioma, including it for nearly 30 years. Multiple studies have found a potential link between Depo and meningioma, including one that found women who took the drug for more than a year had 5 times the risk of developing the tumor. Philip is now one of more than 1,000 women suing Pfizer, the maker of Depo-Provera, alleging the company chose to ignore relevant safety concerns and deliberately not study the long-term safety of Depo.
Doesn't that sound kind of familiar when you talk about the long-term safety concerns? When you rush out any type of shot or medication or whatever, and you don't give it the amount of time to really study it, I would think that it would increase the possibility that there might be long-term effects that are being overlooked. And that's what we're talking about here. That's what's at the heart of this lawsuit.
A year had 5 times the risk of developing the tumor. Philip is now one of more than 1,000 women suing Pfizer, the maker of Depo-Provera, alleging the company chose to ignore relevant safety concerns and deliberately not study the long-term safety of Depo.
These women all have meningiomas. Many have surgery. Some have radiation. And they've all had their lives greatly impacted.
The European Union added a warning label for meningioma to the drug in 2024. Canada has listed it as an adverse reaction since 2006. No such warning exists in the United States.
Why do you think that is? Get in the comment section. Let me know. Why do you think it is that the UK, Canada, these other countries, they look out for their citizens, they look out for their women. But for some reason, we're not doing that in the United States, the greatest country in the world. Why do you think that is? You're pretty smart. I'll leave it to you.
In a motion seeking dismissal of the case, Pfizer says it became aware of the risks of meningiomas in 2023 and made an application to the FDA to change the drug's warning label. The company says the FDA rejected their effort to warn patients. The FDA declined our request for comment, but in a letter to Pfizer included in the motion, it wrote the findings of the available observational studies alone do not support the addition of a warning.
Even though they did it in Canada and they did it in the UK and other places around the world, for some reason we're special here. It reminds me of another video that I did a while ago talking about, are we taking the same drugs as the rest of the world? Because I'm hearing different reports from other places. So for some reason, since 2006, some places have issued this warning, but golly gee willikers, in America, there's just not enough there to warrant that. And you see how they're playing past the buck too? Pfizer says, look at the FDA, look at the FDA. The FDA says, well, just don't blame us. We don't see enough there, even though other places in the world, they do.
Pfizer saying to NBC News it stands behind the safety and efficacy of Depo-Provera.
Even though you have all of these people who are having these adverse reactions, they're going to stand by it. They're going to keep on making their money. And that's what we got going on there. So let's look at this, okay? Because Black Enterprise is talking about this because of, I guess, the Black woman angle. It says, Depo-Provera risks and racial disparity as brain tumor lawsuits mount. Critics recall history of targeting Black women. And of course, we'll be talking about that in a minute. If some people here who are listening think this is something that, oh, come on, they're not really doing that. We'll talk about that in a minute. It says decades after receiving regular injections of the hormonal contraceptive Depo-Provera, an estimated 1,300 women are now suing manufacturer Pfizer, alleging the company failed to adequately warn users of potential links to meningiomas, tumors, usually non-cancerous, that form in the brain and spinal cord lining. So the mounting multi-district litigation, or MDL, in Florida in federal court follows recent studies suggesting a heightened risk, even as medical groups caution that the overall odds of developing the tumors remain small. Of course, they always say that because they can't really prove anything because How can you prove something that you're not looking for? You know what I mean? It's kind of hard to do that, right? When you're not really looking for something, it makes it a little bit more difficult to actually find something. So silly. The controversy is particularly important to Black women who use the injectable contraceptive at nearly double the national rate, according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. All right, guys, so you heard the video, I just want to put this a little bit in historical context, okay? Because I'm not saying this or that, but I'm saying that there's a need to do your homework. You heard what the woman said at the beginning. If she had known that there was an issue, she never would have taken the shot. You know what I mean? So we have to do better than to see these things in retrospect. All right. Now, what am I thinking of when I say that? I'm thinking of the history of it. All right. Now, let's look at this. This is on pbs.org. You got to know your history, guys. Unwanted sterilization and eugenics programs in the United States. Now, coerced sterilization is a shameful part of America's history, and one doesn't have to go too far back to find examples of it. Used as a means of controlling undesirable populations, immigrants, people of color, poor people, unmarried mothers, the disabled, the mentally ill, federally funded sterilization programs took place in 32 states throughout the 20th century. As historian William Deverell explains in a piece discussing the asexualization acts that led to the sterilization of more than 20,000 California men and women, if you are sterilizing someone, you are saying, if not to them directly, your possible progeny are inassimilable, and we choose not to deal with that. According to Andrea Estrada at UC Santa Barbara, forced sterilization was particularly rampant in California. It says here, beginning in 1909 and continuing for 70 years, California led the country in the number of sterilization procedures performed on men and women, often without their full knowledge and consent. Approximately 20,000 sterilizations took place in state institutions, comprising 1/3 of the total number performed in the 32 states where such action was legal. Here's an interesting quote. There is today one state, wrote Hitler, in which at least weak beginnings towards a better conception of citizenship are noticeable. Of course, it's not our model in the German Republic, but in the United States. Okay, so he's talking about eugenics and how even in Nazi Germany, they were in awe of the eugenics program that was going on in the United States to sterilize people who were deemed to be undesirable. Researcher Alex Stern, author of a new book, Eugenic Nation, Faults and Frontiers of Better Breeding in America, adds, in the early 20th century across the country, medical superintendents, legislators, and social reformers affiliated with an emerging eugenics movement joined forces to put sterilization laws on the books. Such legislation was motivated by crude theories of human heredity, that posited the wholesale inheritance of traits associated with panoply of feared conditions such as criminality, feeble-mindedness, and sexual deviance. Many sterilization. Why am I laughing, by the way? Because I know people get in the comments, you got to take this seriously. I'm laughing because it's ironic. Why is it ironic? Because they're talking about criminality, feeble-mindedness, and sexual deviance. Well, it sounds like today's hip-hop music today, doesn't it? Doesn't it sound just like what we're shoveling out to our children every day in the name of keeping it real, in the name of blackness? We got to think about these things, guys. Many sterilization advocates viewed reproductive surgery as a necessary public health intervention that would protect society from deleterious genes and the social and economic costs of managing degenerate stock. Once again, eugenics was a commonly accepted means of protecting society from the offspring and therefore equally suspect of those individuals deemed inferior or dangerous, the poor, the disabled, the mentally ill, criminals, and of course, people of color. All right, guys, I think you know where I'm going with this, okay? I'm not saying this or that regarding the Pfizer shot that's doing this to these women. All I'm saying is learn from history. Do your research. Do your homework. It is your body. And yes, a woman can control and should control what she does with her own body, but you must be educated. You see what the article is saying. This affects Black women at double the rate of the national average, and nobody is talking about it. Why? Because Big Pharma. That's the reason why. And they're making billions. When you're making billions, how hard are you going to look to find something wrong with the product that you're making billions off of? All right, guys, I am going to get off of my soapbox. You do with that what you will. This has been a public service announcement from the one, the only, Gospel According to Mark with a C. Thank you for putting up with me. I'll catch you on the next one. Rock on.